Hello everyone, back into today's video doing JMA Friday. As always on a Friday, we're having a detailed look at the weather for the month ahead with the JMA and CFS V2 model. So it's going to take us into the second half of November. We'll be drawing to a close, really, with the autumn with this update. So we'll see what these two models are predicting for the final month of the autumn of 2017. Very shortly, just to say that coming up over the weekend, going to be a very big weekend of updates. So we've got weekend forecast tomorrow, and also tomorrow we will have the season model roundup for the winter of 2017-18. The second only the second season model roundup this season. We're getting 12 long-range models together to see what they are all showing. That'll be with you tomorrow. And then on Sunday, we've got the 8th winter 2017-18 update, where we'll look at things like sun activity, what's happening in the oceans, Siberian Stoker. There's been some big developments there over the past week, and we'll have plenty of analogues as well. So it's going to be a big weekend of updates, and the final written update for Christmas as well will be with you on Sunday also. So going to be loads of updates coming up over the weekend to enjoy. But we've got JMA Friday to do before we get to the weekend, and so we will begin by having a look at the Japanese model for the next month. So these are 500 heights. They're broken down into weekly periods from the pole view down. So this is the North Pole just here, and then round here we've got the mid-latitudes of the North Pole. On these charts, blue is extrapolating to low pressure, and orange, yellow and red extrapolating to high pressure. As I say, this is broken down into week periods. The first week period taking us from today, 27th of October, through to the 3rd of November. So we see that we've got quite a deep trough of below average heights here to our east and northeast, and then we've got a ridge of above average heights in the Atlantic, which is trying to get us into a cold northerly flow, but not quite doing it. So instead of a northerly, we're sort of bringing in like a northwesterly, a bit like that, and just about managing to stay on the mild side of the jet stream. But it is a very close run thing, and with high pressure out to our west, a fair amount of dry weather coming up as we end October and move into the very beginning of November. Now we go through to week 2, which is the 3rd through to the 10th of November, and very similar trends really. So the above average heights continuing to our west, below average heights up to the north, and also extending down to the east of us with the flow and the jet stream going rather like that. So again, it's trying to get us into a colder northerly interlude, but actually most of the cold with that trough is going down into central and eastern, northeastern parts of Europe through there, and we keep more of an Atlantic influence. So again, reasonable amount of dry weather, I would have thought, particularly the western parts of the country, because we are blocking off the Atlantic. And just fairly quiet and not overly cold, perhaps chilly at times, but not overly cold. And then we go through to weeks 3 and 4, which takes us from the 10th through to the 24th of November. Bit of a change with this one, so the trough is centering itself over the top of the UK and northwestern parts of Europe. We've got this area of high pressure developing to the north. So that's a little bit of northern blocking going on up there, and also the ridge pulling out towards Newfoundland. That looks like it should be introducing colder type conditions, with the flow and the jet stream doing something a bit like that. So I think that finally does push us into the cold trough. We probably go onto the cold side of the jet, and it looks quite unsettled as well under that trough. So maybe a cold, unsettled sort of middle phase of November, if this is correct. It's not very cold because, again, we aren't really tapping into a deep Arctic sourced air with this. For that to happen, we need to have this high pressure area of above average heights really more centrally located over top of the pole. But certainly I think that is cool, right? It does look as though we're placed on the cool side of the jet with that. So becoming more unsettled and cooler through the middle part of November, I would have thought, if that's correct. So have a look at the temperature and precipitation anomalies that go with those heights next. So this is a different view. This is the tropical and mid-latitude view. We've got the equator of the tropics just there. We've got the northern hemisphere to the north of the equator, southern hemisphere to the south of the equator. That's America over there. This is the Atlantic Ocean just here. We've got Asia and Russia, Siberia up there. We've got Western Russia there. And Europe is through here. Most importantly, British Isles in the top right-hand corner of the chart as you're looking at it. So, reminder of the week 1 500 millibar height anomaly. We have this area of above average heights to our west, and then we've got below average heights, quite a deep trough actually in the east of Europe, and the flow jet stream doing something like that. That's a cold trough that will be digging down some early cold conditions into eastern parts of Europe and western Russia. Precipitation anomalies for the week ahead. Remember, it's going from the 27th today of October through to the 3rd of November, and we're coming out milder. We're coming out, I should say, drier than average, quite substantially so, actually, to our west and southwest. Temperature anomalies are coming out milder than average as well. So a mild and dry week ahead for the British Isles. Notice it is a bit cooler with that cold trough across central and eastern parts of Europe. Also some very cold air digging into much of central, eastern and northeastern parts of America. This is how week 2 is shaping up. So this is preferred through to the 10th of November. The ridge is out to our west. Still have the trough to the east of us as well. The precipitation anomaly is drier than average again. So a fairly dry start to November, if this is right. Temperature anomalies are generally, again, a little bit on the milder than average side. So a reasonably mild and dry start to November from the JMA this week. And then we go through to the 10th, through to 24th of November, weeks 3 and 4, we see a change. We set up the trough and stick it over the top of the UK and western parts of Europe as well, with the ridge pulling out into the western part of the Atlantic Ocean. That looks like it should be placing us on the cold side of the jet stream. It also looks like it should be much more unsettled. So rainfall anomalies suddenly take off there from the 10th to the 24th of November. Precipitation anomalies are coming out wetter than average. What about the temperatures? They're still hinting at being on the milder than average side, but you see that to our west. We have got an area of slightly colder than average temperature anomalies. And I do think that as we go through to that middle phase of November, we do have the prospect of digging the jet stream to our south, going onto the cold side of the jet. And so that looks like it should be a cooler, perhaps even colder period there through the middle part of November, and also substantially more unsettled as well. CFS V2 is looking like this. So again, 500 millibar height anomalies break down to week periods. The first week period taking us from the 26th of October to the 1st of November. This is yesterday's update, by the way. It hasn't updated annoyingly today at the CFS website. So we have this area of above average heights just to our west, high pressure to our west, below average heights with this cold trough in the east of Europe, doing something like that. Also a very cold trough over across the eastern part of America. We do something like that with the flow and with the jet stream. So we're still on the mild side of the jet there, and we're close to that ridge, reasonably mild and dry for the week ahead, with the cold trough digging into the eastern part of Europe. We had a lot of that last winter, of course. This is how week 2 is looking, the 2nd through to the 8th of November. Very similar, really. The above average heights are still to our west with the high pressure air, below average heights over Scandinavia and through central and eastern parts of Europe. And we do something like that with the flow and with jet stream. Might be a little bit more unsettled with a slightly more Atlantic influence, probably bringing the wind down from the northwest to southeast type direction. So it's not going to be overly warm, I wouldn't have thought. It could actually be a little bit cool, but the real cold conditions are with this trough over in the east and the southeast of Europe. As I say, it had a lot of this last winter, where they had a phenomenally cold winter across the Balkans, Greece, Turkey, some parts of Italy, had huge amounts of snow last winter whilst we remained close to the warm ridge in the Atlantic. That kind of pattern looks like it's evolving through this early part of November once again. Then in week 3, the CFS V2 is picking up on a bit of a change. This is the 9th to the 15th of November, and above average heights then are extending through the UK and moving through the Atlantic. So this is turning mostly dry. I think we might be bringing in the wind from an easterly or southeasterly direction, so it could be quite chilly as well there. The model will probably show warmer than average because it just looks at the heights and the air pressure and assumes that's going to be a warm ridge. But of course we know, because it's November, we're going to radiate the heat out into space very quickly under any ridging. So I would have thought that at the very least produces fog and frost, which will of course limit the temperatures. And then we go through to week 4, and this all looks very messy now. This is the 16th to the 22nd of November. So we've got below average heights around Iceland, above average heights across eastern parts of Europe, also somewhat to the south of Spain, and a ridge over there as well. Very difficult to say what is going on there, but I think we're probably doing something a bit like that with flowing with jet stream. Perhaps more unsettled, and the wind turning more Atlantic based, so probably reasonably mild as well. Temperature anomalies for the first week, week 1, the 26th of October, 1st of November, are coming out milder or warmer than average. Week 2, temperature anomalies look cooler, so we're going perhaps a little bit cooler than average there from the 2nd to the 8th of November, and quite a cold week across many parts of Europe, particularly so in the east and the southeast of Europe. Notice the core of any cold anomalies centering around the Balkans and southeastern Europe. Once again, as I say, we had a lot of that last winter. This is how the week 3 temperature anomaly is looking milder than average, returning. Remember, that's under the ridge, so the model is looking at the ridge, assuming it's a mild ridge. We know because of the time of year we're going to radiate heat quickly into space, so I expect it to be colder than that if we do get a big ridge setting up from the Atlantic to Central Europe. Again, most parts of the continent of Europe coming out colder than average in week 3, and then week 4, and this probably does make sense, it goes milder than average then, and notice many parts of Europe becoming significantly milder than average too as the wind returns into the Atlantic. Finally, precipitation anomalies drier than average in the week ahead, so a reasonably mild and dry week ahead. Week 2 precipitation anomalies still on the drier than average side, really particularly so to western parts of the country. Week 3 precipitation anomalies still hinting at being drier than average there too, so quite a mild and dry first half to November I should say, and then week 4 all change and it goes a bit wetter than average then in week 4, the 16th to the 22nd of November, as the Atlantic kind of strikes back. So in summary for the two models, it looks like we're going to have a fairly mild and dry start to November, maybe something a bit colder setting up through the middle part of the month and possibly a bit more unsettled too, and then probably reverting to milder conditions again in the second half of the month. These models are all highly experimental, so they're not to be relied upon. All long-range forecasting comes with caveats. Any forecast beyond 5 days really is uncertain. The further out you go, the more uncertain it gets. So this could all look very different next week when we do next week's JMA Friday. I say tomorrow we've got the week ahead forecast coming up, and we'll also have the second season world roundup for the winter of 2017-18. We get 12 long-range models together, see what they're all showing for the winter for only the second time this autumn, and then Sunday we've got the 8th winter update and the final written update for Christmas as well, ahead of the Christmas video updates, which begin, can you believe it, next week on Wednesday the 1st of November. So there'll be loads going on at website over the weekend and next week as well. Keep checking back for all of the updates, and that's all for now. Thanks for watching.